strategic assessment incorporates a broader set of intelligence streams from late February 2026, revealing a complex web of failing diplomatic channels, asymmetric warfare, and severe institutional friction. The following analysis breaks down the critical developments across multiple theaters. 1. Middle East brinkmanship and nuclear anxieties. Diplomatic avenues have collapsed as military posturing dominates the region, with the threat of a wider conflict escalating rapidly. Geneva talks fail. The most intense round of indirect nuclear negotiations between the US and Iran concluded without a deal. The US delegation, led by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, failed to reach an agreement, prompting Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi to warn that any resulting conflict would trigger a devastating war. Military mobilization. The US has significantly built up its military presence in the Middle East, with a major aircraft carrier approaching Haifa, Israel. Anticipating imminent military strikes, both the UK and the US have withdrawn non-essential embassy staff from Tehran. Nuclear advancements. A confidential IAEA report was circulated urging Iran to allow inspections at all nuclear sites, pointing specifically to Isfahan due to the presence of a new enrichment plant and near bomb-grade uranium. Shifting US sentiment. A new poll indicates that US public sympathy has shifted to favor Palestinians over Israelis following the protracted war in Gaza, driven largely by independents and Democrats. Concurrently, Al Jazeera reported on orchestrated smear campaigns actively being used to discredit Palestinian health workers. 2. South Asia, the Pakistan-Afghanistan open war. A severe, high-intensity conflict has erupted across the Durand Line, destabilizing the region. Cross-border strikes. Pakistan's defense minister officially declared an open war with Afghanistan following a sharp escalation in cross-border attacks. Urban bombardment. The Pakistani Air Force launched bombing raids on targets in the major Afghan cities of Kabul and Kandahar. In retaliation, Taliban forces claimed to have captured several Pakistani military checkpoints. Civilian toll. The fighting has exacted a heavy civilian toll, with nearly 300 people reportedly killed in the mutual strikes and residents in Pakistan's Bajaur district reporting artillery shells hitting their homes. 3. The war in Europe, deepening complications. As the Russian invasion of Ukraine hits its 4-year anniversary, the conflict is increasingly drawing in global actors and illicit supply chains. African casualties. At least 55 Ghanaian nationals have been killed fighting for Russia on the front lines in Ukraine, highlighting how Moscow is luring African men into the war under the false promise of civilian jobs. Sanctions evasion. A new intelligence report from the Committee for Freedom in Hong Kong Foundation revealed that traders in Hong Kong and China are acting as a systemic hub to route sanctioned European military use technology directly to the Russian war machine. Ukrainian arsenal. Ukraine has successfully tested the new FP7 ballistic missile, developed by the domestic defense manufacturer Firepoint, marking a significant advancement in its sovereign strike capabilities. 4. Technology, the Pentagon standoff and AI disruptions. The intersection of commercial artificial intelligence and the military-industrial complex is causing deep fractures within the tech sector. The Anthropic ultimatum. AI startup Anthropic flatly rejected the Pentagon's demands for unrestricted military use of its Claude AI system. CEO Dario Amodei stated the company cannot in good conscience accede to demands that violate their ethical bans on autonomous lethal weapons and mass surveillance. Employees at rival firms Google and OpenAI published an open letter supporting Anthropic's stance. Mass AI layoffs. The economic disruption of AI was brought into sharp focus when fintech giant Block, led by Jack Dorsey, announced it will lay off 40% of its workforce, over 4,000 jobs, as it pivots to run the company primarily using AI tools. Capital consolidation. Despite market jitters, OpenAI closed a staggering $110 billion funding round backed by Amazon, Nvidia, and SoftBank. 5. U.S. domestic friction and economic shocks. The SOTU polarization. President Trump delivered a nearly 2-hour State of the Union address claiming a golden age, which was met with intense protests from Democratic lawmakers regarding his immigration crackdowns and economic policies. Tariff reversal fallout. Following the Supreme Court's decision to strike down Trump's emergency global tariffs, the administration faces over 2,000 new lawsuits from companies demanding refunds. Analysts warn this legal chaos could spark a massive surge in Chinese imports as companies front-load orders before new, retaliatory tariffs can be enacted. The Epstein hearings. The institutional reckoning continues as both former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton underwent closed-door testimonies before a congressional panel investigating the Jeffrey Epstein network. Hillary Clinton denied any knowledge of Epstein's crimes and demanded that President Trump also testify regarding his links to the financier. Military drone misfire. Exposing severe miscommunication in border operations, the U.S. military reportedly used a high-energy laser system to accidentally shoot down a U.S. Customs and Border Protection drone over Texas, forcing the FAA to temporarily close the airspace. 6. Latin America, cartel warfare and state struggles. The fall of El Mencho. Mexican security forces, utilizing intelligence provided by the U.S., assassinated Nemesio El Mencho Oseguera Cervantes, the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel (CJNG). The decapitation strike immediately triggered massive cartel retaliation, leaving at least 70 people dead as armed groups wreaked havoc across a dozen states. Economic strain. Mexico's state